AITA for turning down my stepmother when she asked me for her future daughter's college tuition. I am a 27-year-old guy from Ohio, and I swear my life used to be normal. My biggest recurring family crisis used to be my uncle insisting every 4th of July that his fireworks were safe because, according to him, controlled explosions build character. Those explosions have burned 3 lawns, taken out a mailbox, and once singed my cousin's eyebrows so badly she spent 2 months looking permanently surprised. That used to be the most chaotic thing about my family. Then my dad remarried and everything in my life turned into a speedrun of bad decisions. My dad, Mark, is 54. He is a good man, he worked hard his whole life, but he has this pattern of falling in love with women who describe themselves as free spirits, and then being shocked when that spirit drains his wallet like a Dyson vacuum. 2 years ago he married Kelsey, who is 32. She is one of those people who narrates everything she does. If she gets a paper cut, she tells the entire room that she survived a traumatic event. If someone forgets to refill the coffee pot, she calls it a targeted act of sabotage. She is energetic and bubbly in the way people are right before you discover they have 5 maxed-out credit cards hidden in their sock drawer. I was polite with her. I really tried. I showed up to holidays, I helped fix the Wi-Fi when it broke, I even pretended to like the organic, gluten-free, sugar-free, joy-free desserts she insisted on making. But we never bonded. Not once. It always felt like she kept a mental scoreboard of who adored her and who merely tolerated her, and she placed me firmly in the second category. For context, I have always been the responsible one in my family. My parents used to call me the kid who had his head screwed on right. I held a job through high school, I paid my own way through community college, and I have been working in information technology for the past few years. I saved aggressively and managed to build a decent nest egg. $42,000. My pride and joy. My future down payment. My proof that I was clawing my way into adulthood even if everything around me looked like a reality television show. My dad loved that about me. At least he used to. He bragged about me all the time. Meanwhile he adored Kelsey from day one because she made him feel, in his own words, young and spontaneous again. This spontaneity resulted in matching tattoos that cost $600, which he later admitted hurt more emotionally than physically. Then 6 months ago, Kelsey got pregnant. My dad acted like he had been waiting his whole life for this moment. He cried, he hugged everyone, he started calling the baby, our new chapter, and telling me that I was going to be the world's greatest big brother. He said it constantly, like he was trying to hypnotize me. Overnight I went from being his independent, responsible son to being a resource. A walking, talking, savings account with a pulse. The disaster began when they invited me over for dinner. Whenever my dad cooks lasagna, it means he wants something. This man cannot boil water without burning it, but he puts his heart and soul into lasagna when he needs to butter someone up. I showed up, ate the over-cheesed mountain he proudly called a meal, and tried to ignore how Kelsey kept rubbing her stomach like she was polishing a crystal ball. Halfway through dinner, she said in this soft, serious voice that she wanted to talk about something important for the baby's future. Then she rested her hand on her stomach in a dramatic way that made me expect violins to start playing in the background. She said that they had been thinking about long-term plans and that they wanted to start a college fund for her daughter. She said her daughter like the baby already had a social security number and a LinkedIn profile. Then she said it. She looked me directly in the eyes and told me she wanted me to contribute $20,000 toward the college fund. $20,000. Almost half of everything I had worked for. I honestly thought she was joking. I laughed. Not a polite laugh, a real laugh, one of those slightly wheezy ones you do when something is so absurd that your brain tries to escape through humor. But she did not laugh. She stared at me like I had kicked her emotional support houseplant. I said I could not do that I had been saving for years, that I was preparing to buy a home, and that the baby was not even born yet. My dad looked disappointed in a way that made my stomach twist. He said that families support each other and that this was a chance to prove that we were truly blending into one family. Kelsey whispered that it was selfish to block a child's future before she even arrived. She said it like I was personally banning the baby from ever succeeding in life. I left that night feeling like someone had put emotional bricks on my chest. For days I could not shake the guilt. I kept hearing my dad's voice in my head saying that family always helps family, and suddenly I felt like refusing to hand over $20,000 made me the villain in a movie I did not sign up to be in. I lost sleep over it. I kept thinking about my dad's disappointed eyes and the way Kelsey had dramatically sighed like she had witnessed a Greek tragedy. And because I am apparently spineless when it comes to disappointing my father, I caved. I told myself that maybe it would fix things, that it would make my dad proud again, that it would stop the guilt from clawing at my brain. So I transferred $15,000. I could not bring myself to give 20, but 15 was enough to make my stomach drop through the floor. My dad texted me immediately saying that I did the right thing. Kelsey hugged me the next time she saw me with the enthusiasm of someone who had just won a sweepstakes. And I stood there awkwardly, trying to pretend this was fine, like this was what good sons do. And I tried to convince myself this was kindness, not stupidity. Oh, how naive I was. When baby Leo finally arrived, I honestly believed the universe might throw us a lifeline. He was tiny, round, and had a permanently unimpressed expression, like he had just descended from the heavens, taken one look at us, and thought, this is who I got stuck with. He had my dad's salt and pepper hairline and Kelsey's oversized blue eyes, which combined into a face that looked like it was judging the entire human race. But he was adorable, and holding him for the first time softened something in me. I told myself that all the chaos leading up to his birth would level out now that there was a baby in the picture. For about 2 weeks, life lulled me into a false sense of peace. Then my dad called. I could hear stress in his voice the second he said my name. He told me that Kelsey kept asking where the rest of the money was because she needed supplies. I froze. I reminded him that she already had the $15,000. There was a long pause before he told me she said that money was for her online coursework so she could get a degree and become a better mom. I felt heat rising up my neck like my body wanted to warn me that I was about to discover something terrible. I asked what degree she was supposedly pursuing. He did not know. He also did not know which school she was enrolled in or what program she had selected or why online coursework required $15,000 up front. Every answer he gave sounded like someone trying to assemble a puzzle without realizing half the pieces were from another box. So I did what any responsible adult with access to the internet does. I dug. The first thing I found was a picture on her Instagram. She was holding a brand new iPhone, posing like she was auditioning for a billboard, with the caption bragging that she was stepping into her new mom era with a new phone and a new me attitude. The timestamp on that picture was 2 days after I sent the money. I stared at my screen, trying to process the fact that $15,000 of my hard-earned savings had turned into a shiny rectangle with a camera bump. The second thing I found was not even something I was looking for. My cousin Jake texted me out of nowhere saying that he swore he had just seen my stepmother melting down at the slot machines at the casino where he worked. He casually asked if I knew she gambled. I swear I felt my soul unlatch itself from my body. I sat there staring at that text like it was written in a foreign language. The dots connected so fast it made me dizzy. The dramatic guilt speeches. The sudden urgency. The talk about securing the baby's future. The online coursework that did not exist. I felt stupid all over again, like I had willingly walked into a trap with a sign that said free savings giveaway. I decided to confront my dad privately. I needed answers, and more than that, I needed him to know exactly what was happening. When I brought it up, he immediately shifted into defensive mode, insisting that I did not understand what she was going through and that new mothers needed support and that she would never misuse something given for the baby's future. He said it with that stubborn faith he always has in the people he falls for, the same faith that has cost him money, time, and years of his sanity. But I came prepared. I pulled up the picture of her with the new phone. I pulled up my cousin's message about the casino. I explained everything I had found and everything that did not make sense, and I watched the realization sink into his face like a heavy weight settling onto a sinking ship. His expression changed slowly, inch by inch, until it felt like the entire room stopped breathing. He did not yell. He did not argue. He did not say a single word. He just got quiet. Which is worse? 2 days after my dad's quiet collapse into reality, I woke up on a Saturday morning thinking I might finally get a break. I had coffee, I sat on my couch, I contemplated doing laundry, and for a brief moment the world felt normal. Then my apartment door rattled like someone was trying to beat it off the hinges. Before I even managed to stand up, the door flew open and Kelsey stormed inside without waiting for an invitation, holding baby Leo in her arms like she was presenting evidence in a courtroom. She started yelling the second the door clicked shut. She told me this entire disaster was my fault because, according to her, I should not have given her money if I did not trust her. That was her opening statement, delivered with the confidence of someone who had rehearsed in the car mirror the entire drive over. She said it like she had cracked the case wide open, like she was the victim in a tragic tale I had single-handedly engineered. I asked her if she was seriously blaming me for her gambling away my savings. She did not hesitate for even a breath. She doubled down so aggressively it felt like watching someone sprint toward a cliff at full speed. She said I had enabled her by giving her the money and that any real son would have helped more. The fact that she had been in my life for 24 months and was claiming maternal authority over me almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because the level of delusion required to make that statement without choking on it was astonishing. Then she went for the emotional jugular. She said that because I was making this a big deal, my dad was stressed and the stress was not good for Leo, and that technically I was hurting the baby. She delivered it like she was prosecuting a case, holding the child like a prop to strengthen her argument. I had to physically stop myself from asking if she expected me to send her another $10,000 in a labeled envelope titled Stress Relief Fund. The sarcasm threatened to spill out, but I swallowed it, because I knew feeding the chaos would only encourage it to grow teeth. My dad eventually came over, breathless and panicked, like he had sprinted the entire distance. His face was a mess of confusion and exhaustion. The moment he walked in, the air thickened. What followed was 3 hours of arguing, not loud screaming, but the slow, painful kind where every sentence feels like dragging a dull knife across your own patience. My dad kept trying to balance reason with his desire to believe the woman he married was not capable of doing something this reckless. Kelsey kept deflecting every point, twisting every fact, turning every concern into an attack. It was like watching two people try to push opposite ends of a locked door. Somewhere around hour 3, my dad's voice broke. He sank down into a chair, staring at his hands like they held the answers he had spent months avoiding. He admitted that he did not know what to do anymore. Hearing him say that cracked something heavy in the room. It was the first truth spoken that entire time. Kelsey stood up abruptly, scooped up the baby with dramatic flair, announced that she was leaving because she did not feel supported, and marched out the door like an actress exiting stage left after a monologue. My dad did not follow her. He did not even stand. Kelsey left with the baby, and Dad stayed on my couch, looking like a man who just learned Santa isn't real. A week passed with the strange quiet that only follows a disaster that is still gathering strength somewhere out of sight. My dad stayed with me for 3 days, going back and forth between staring numbly at the ceiling and researching infant sleep schedules with the desperation of a college student cramming for finals. Eventually he went home, but I could tell something inside him had cracked in a way that was not going to seal back up on its own. Then the bomb dropped. It started as a phone call from one of my dad's co-workers who said he had spotted Kelsey at a pawn shop looking frantic. Then my dad started digging through their shared bank statements. Then the credit card alerts began. It turned out that while we were all arguing and unraveling emotionally, Kelsey had been running a financial demolition derby behind the scenes. 2 credit cards completely maxed out. A payday loan with interest that looked like it had been written by a cartoon villain. Jewelry my dad bought her during their honeymoon pawned for cash that probably vanished into slot machines within hours. When my dad confronted her, she performed the kind of emotional gymnastics that would have won gold medals if self-delusion were an Olympic sport. She called him controlling. She claimed she was suffocating in this toxic family. She accused him of sabotaging her growth, her confidence, her motherhood, and every other vague concept she could throw into the air. Then she packed up her things, grabbed a few bags, claimed she needed space to breathe, and walked out the door. She left baby Leo with my dad, saying she needed time to figure things out. When you translate her dramatic exit into plain language, it essentially meant she realized babies were hard work and casinos required no midnight feedings. My dad filed for emergency temporary custody faster than I had ever seen him make a decision in his life. The court granted it almost instantly. Kelsey did not even bother to show up to the hearing. She did not call. She did not send a message. She simply evaporated into the void of people who run from consequences like they are allergic to responsibility. Then something happened that caught me completely off guard. My dad apologized to me. And not one of those half-hearted apologies people give to smooth things over. This was real. He sat across from me with Leo asleep in a carrier next to him and said that he should have believed me, that he should have protected me, not guilt-tripped me into giving money I had spent years saving. Hearing him say that felt like someone had cracked open a window in a room I did not realize had been suffocating me. I told him I forgave him, and I meant it. Seeing him sit there with his grandson, exhausted but present, made something settle in my chest that had been rattling for months. Then he brought up the money. He said he wanted to pay me back every cent. I told him not to, that I did not want him carrying that weight on top of everything else, but my dad is a stubborn man in all the ways that matter. A week later he opened a savings account under my name and started putting $200 into it every month. He told me it was not about the money, it was about doing the right thing and making sure I knew that he had learned something from this disaster. The last time I saw Kelsey was at a gas station a few towns over. I walked in to grab a drink and heard her before I saw her. She was trying to convince the cashier to run her card again for vape juice, insisting that their machine was broken. Her card kept declining. The cashier looked like he wanted to quit his job on the spot. She turned around, saw me, and her face twisted like I had personally crawled out of the shadows to ruin her day. She told me that everything that had happened was my fault. I told her that I was responsible for a lot of things, but I did not realize I had caused inflation and the extinction of the dinosaurs as well. She responded that I was not funny. I told her she was, unintentionally. She stormed past me in a cloud of cheap perfume and frustration. Dad is raising Leo now, and I help whenever he needs it. Changing diapers, late-night feedings, pediatrician appointments, all the stuff that life throws at you when a tiny human depends on you. The routine is tiring, but it is real, and for the first time in months, things feel steady. So here I am, still questioning whether I handled everything perfectly. There are moments when I think about my savings, about the $15,000 that evaporated into new phones and casino lights, and I wonder if I should have held on to it and told her that her problems were not mine. But then I look at my dad, genuinely trying, genuinely learning, genuinely being a father in a way he had stopped being years ago, and I recognize that the fallout of this entire situation forced him to finally see exactly who Kelsey was beneath all the dramatics and baby talk and emotional manipulation. So that is where things landed. A trail of disasters behind us, a strange sense of peace ahead, and a baby who looks at me like he knows exactly how much I pay for formula. Thank you for listening to my story. Do you think I did the right thing?